Hi, I'm Alex Archbold. I've been buying and selling antiques since I was a kid. Over the years, generations of our family have gotten involved in the business, and I'll search just about anywhere I can to find hidden treasures both big and small. I never know what I'll turn up next. It's about exploring new places, seeing new sights, and having fun. And even though sometimes I get over my head, we try and make things a little better along the way. This is Curiosity Inc. Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video. Well, it is winter time right now, which means that my outdoor hobbies and activities have turned into indoor hobbies and activities, and I've been looking around my shelves and seeing a couple collectibles that I've had on the back burner, things that I've been meaning to take care of for a while, and one of them is, well, would be one of the most expensive Redline Hot Wheel toys currently available in the market, and that's because it was I wouldn't say an error, but it was a short run, kind of like they made it for a short period of time. Anyway, not about talking about me. Let me point at the thing and I can show you what I'm talking about, but I'm going to try and do a restoration on it. And why restore it, you might ask, if it's such a valuable thing? Well, it's in not very good shape, and restored, it's worth about exactly the same as it is unrestored. One way I'll actually like looking at it, but let me show you what it is, and we'll see if we can't make it look a little bit better today. Let's get to it. So I do have a little collection of toy cars and things that I've been hanging on to for a bit. I'm trying to remember which case it's in. No, not that one, but I'll actually keep that handy because I do want to show you its normal counterpart is in there. Here we go. When I was in Colorado last, I was on Facebook Marketplace and saw this lot of cars available for, I think it was about $50 for all of them. And I bought it because I saw there was a couple Redlines in here. Actually, when I went through, what I discovered was there was multiple Redline Hot Wheels in here. So there's, you know, a good deal, a good number of them. Some of them a little bit more rare than others, like this little enamel Mercedes. And of course, when we talk about Redline Hot Wheels, I don't know if you can see there's a little red stripe, like a white wall, but it's red. That is what makes it a Redline car, because that's what they had on them. So the car in question, I'm going to show you this one first. This is a custom Volkswagen Beetle. This is not in terribly great shape either, but it's better than the one I'm about to show you. You can see it's got a little sunroof in it. That has a sunroof as well, and the majority of them did have sunroofs. You can see little holes cut in the top. Now, very few of these, and this seems so silly because it's just a little toy car at the end of the day, very, very few of them were actually released to the public with the no sunroof feature. And that's what this car is here. This was released only overseas. It wasn't really in Canada or US. Mainly it was over in the UK and areas like that. And it is an original. You can see made in, has the Hong Kong base on it. Probably very much like, well, actually that's essentially the same car. And this one has no sunroof. Now, if this car was mint and packaged, you'd be looking at thousands of dollars. If it was in really nice shape, loose, $1,000 to $2,000. In this condition, it's still worth $400 or $500, but you can see it's not real pretty to look at. The paint's all scuffed off. It's got, you know, a little bit worn out looking wheels on there. The engine's actually okay. Normally those can get damaged or the chrome missing. So it has good bones or good potential, and it's got the sort of grayish looking interior in there. So what I'm going to do is actually, that wasn't my brain, my computer made a noise at the same time. It sounds like my brain makes a dinging sound when I think. What we're gonna do is we're actually gonna to pop the little rivet, take this apart and see if we can't repaint it and make it look great again. But I figured since I'm gonna be at it and stripping paint, when I bought the last toy collection that I picked up, this little guy was there, and it looked like somebody had started acquiring all the parts to do a restoration on it, never did. So it's a Corgi Mercedes, not a very valuable vehicle. It's not worth thousands of dollars. It's probably worth like 20 bucks in good shape or fixed up. But I've got all the bits to fix it. I've got new tires in there. I've got the steering wheel, all the parts that I'm going to need to get this thing back together. So I figure why not do both of them at the same time. So we'll see what we can do, have a little fun, and hopefully end up having a nice little restoration by the end of this video. Who knows, but let's find out. First step, we're gonna get the rivets drilled out. I'm using a little step drill here. Just to try and get that rivet head off. Should do it on that side, and we'll do the other, and it should just pop right apart. Okay, now that the rivets are drilled out, that base comes off. We'll set that aside. We'll keep these little springs aside that obviously go back in there, and we can strip with paint stripper the finish that's on this. Gonna do the same thing to the Volkswagen. We'll get this set aside. Make sure I don't lose those springs, but we'll get that body. I'm not gonna do it in the chrome finish because I'm not really a big fan of that. I'll find something a little bit more traditional, a little bit more Mercedes to do this in. This one I'm just having fun with. The other one will have to be a little bit more accurate. So we'll get that taken apart. Next up, little Volkswagen. Okay. Second one is done. Now I can take this all very carefully apart. So I want to use as many pieces as I can and get that body stripped as well. Okay, well, somewhere in there are the two bodies to my vehicles. I can see they're totally covered, which is great. That's not dripping out anywhere. So we're gonna let that sit for a while and come back and check that in a bit, and hopefully that paint will be loosened up enough that we can get it off. Time to take this stuff out of the chemical bath of paint stripper, and I can see it's loosening up a bit. I'm gonna take the little brush I've got right next to it and see if we can't brush the paint off and see what's underneath. So this is what I'm left with. Yeah, the paint is off for the most part. Got a little bit of cleaning to do on the inside, but you can kind of see little imperfections for where the old paint was scuffed off and some discoloring. That all needs to be cleaned up, likely with a little bit of really fine sandpaper, because the type of paint that goes on this type of car, there is no primer. It's a semi-transparent metallic paint, and if you don't have a nice base of metal to spray it on, you're gonna see all those imperfections. So this has to be all cleaned up so it's nice, bright, and shiny, and that's what's next. There we go. That's a much nicer finish on that. Almost like chrome, polished up nicely. So that is actually ready for paint. And as for the little Mercedes, well, it's in a similar sort of state right now. This is going a solid color, so it'd be a little bit easier, but both of these are ready for the next step. First up is going to be the Volkswagen. And we're going to start with the underside. I'm going to put it way back and give it just sort of a fine mist. You can always do another coat, but if you put too much on at first, it's not going to look great. So we're going to let this set up. I'm just going to do the other side here. And once I've got the underside more or less painted, then I can flip it over. First coat is drying on the Volkswagen. I'll have to do more because you can see there's like light spots where it didn't settle in, so we'll let that set up. In the meantime, over on this side, I gave the Mercedes its coat of paint. See that very sort of milky gray finish? Oh, it's just like what they would have put on a real Mercedes like that, and that's the idea, to make it look somewhat realistic. So we'll let that set up and dry, and I guess in the meantime, I can go inside and start painting the interior bits for this car. Okay, while the paint on the bodies are drying, I've got my little accessories here. Ooh, just dropped a little man. So I've got the little driver who's gonna sit right about like that. And we've got the interior, we got the steering wheel. Now, I'm not restoring this the way that Corgi would have done it back in the 60s. I'm doing it the way I wanna do it. So I'm gonna give this car a red leather interior, and then we can do the dashboard up a little bit. Not much for gauges on this thing. It does have a stick shift, so pretty much this will just get all painted red, because even if this was the real car, you'd probably have red door panels and trim and so forth. So we're gonna give this a treatment of red. This little guy, on the other hand, well, he's in a racing jumpsuit, so we'll probably make that like a dove gray and give him a white racing helmet, and that should take care of him. So I've got my selection of model paints. There's white for the helmet. Ooh, that needs to be shaken up. Guess I haven't used these in a while. So I'm gonna get them shaken, not stirred. I guess you could do either. James Bond wouldn't approve, but you can do either, shake or stir these, and we'll put a coat of paint on and let that set up. Okay, well, the first little bit of paint is on. The seats are a nice deep red leathery color. I've got a yellow jumpsuit and a white helmet for the guy and the white sort of plastic steering wheel that Mercedes is famous for. So I think I can actually, I'm not gonna repaint the base because it's not terrible. So I'm gonna leave that original, but I can get some tires on here and make that somewhat more ready to go on the car. All the paint is drying. I got some of the little silver details painted on the Mercedes, but it's still setting up. This is going to be a good opportunity for me to try and spruce up the chassis of the Volkswagen before I reassemble it. These wheels aren't that bad, but I know I've got some that are better that I've been hanging on to. So I'm going to see if I can swap these out for nice, fresh looking wheels. And I'll give a little wash and maybe a polish to the plastic lenses into the interior just to make sure they go back in nice and clean too. So a little bit of prep work should make the big difference once I get everything put back together. With the Volkswagen painted up, now is the fun part where I get to put everything back together again. I've got my shiny new wheels on there, and it's reassembly time. Okay, it's the end of the day, and after waiting for paint to dry and glue to dry and all that good stuff, I finally have them done. Let me show you. I think they turned out pretty good. So there they are, all back together again with their other collectible toy buddies on the shelf. The Mercedes looking more like a Mercedes. I didn't really like the chrome finish that they put on that car to begin with anyway, so he's got his yellow sort of jumper and his white helmet and the red leather interior. It looks about right, and the little Volkswagen there, which I might do a little straightening on that back wheel yet. There's a special tool that they make that helps you to straighten the axles out because inevitably kids squish down on them, but it's much, much better than what it was. And it being a very original and very rare car, if the condition would have been just slightly better, I would have left it alone, but because it looked fairly nasty, it didn't really do much damage. Fixing it up and sprucing it up a little bit, and it looks a lot better on the shelf that way too. And it's one I didn't have. So when you're a big kid who likes to collect, well, toys, it doesn't hurt to be a little bit handy too. So I've got my super rare Hot Wheel car all put back together now, and it will live here on my shelf on display. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's little video of doing the renovation on these two vehicles. This is one I didn't have in my collection that I do now, and I'm happy to look at it. It looks awfully nice and shiny. So on the shelf it goes, back in its home, and I am off for another day. Guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. Subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to tune in for more episodes down the road. Bye, everybody. Bye for now.